The uneasy calm in the US-China economic standoff has shattered. For months, both sides maintained a fragile truce, with hopes that negotiations might ease tensions. But beneath the surface, distrust simmered, and now, that tension has erupted into a new and unpredictable conflict. On October 15, 2025, Beijing imposed strict export controls on rare earth minerals, igniting a new and dangerous phase in the trade war. These new restrictions sent shockwaves through global markets, as rare earths are the backbone of countless modern technologies. The move was seen as a calculated response to mounting US pressure, and it immediately raised alarms among manufacturers and governments worldwide. These obscure elements are essential to everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to advanced defense systems and renewable energy infrastructure. Without a steady supply, entire industries could grind to a halt. Rare earths have quietly become the new battleground for global power, and whoever controls their flow holds a critical advantage in the race for technological supremacy. In response, President Trump threatened sweeping 100% tariffs on all remaining Chinese imports, signaling a dramatic escalation with global consequences. The administration's message was clear: the US would not back down and was prepared to use every tool at its disposal to protect its interests. American businesses braced for impact while global investors watched nervously as the standoff intensified. The core issue now goes far beyond trade deficits or tariffs. It's a struggle for technological dominance and geopolitical influence. Both nations are vying to set the rules for the next era of innovation, from artificial intelligence to quantum computing. The outcome will shape not just their own futures, but the balance of power across the entire world. By weaponizing its rare earth supply, China is exploiting a critical Western vulnerability, leveraging its near monopoly to gain the upper hand. Meanwhile, the US prepares to retaliate by leveraging its massive consumer market and global economic influence, seeking alternative suppliers and investing in domestic production. Both sides are digging in for a prolonged confrontation. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's a strategic showdown with the future of global supply chains and technological innovation at stake. The ripple effects are already being felt, as companies scramble to adapt and governments race to secure critical resources. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome remains uncertain. The world watches anxiously as the opening salvos echo across a nervous globe. From boardrooms to living rooms, people everywhere are bracing for what comes next, knowing that the decisions made in Washington and Beijing will shape the global economy and the future of technology for years to come. Rare earth elements, 17 metals with names like neodymium and terbium, are the backbone of modern technology. China controls about 90% of their production and processing, giving it immense leverage over industries worldwide. These minerals power everything from smartphones and electric vehicles to wind turbines and advanced military systems. The US military depends on them for precision weapons, fighter jets, and satellite communications, making supply disruptions a direct national security threat. Building alternative supply chains is slow and costly, leaving the West exposed to China's strategic moves. With export controls, China has turned these minerals into powerful tools of geopolitical pressure. President Trump's response was swift, a threat of 100% tariffs on all Chinese goods not already taxed, doubling prices for countless products. He also floated restricting US exports of critical software and semiconductor designs to China, targeting the heart of China's tech ambitions. The administration's strategy is clear: maximum pressure through tariffs, tech restrictions, and diplomatic brinkmanship. Trump even cast doubt on a planned summit with President Xi, using it as leverage in negotiations. The stakes are high. This high-risk gamble could force China's hand or plunge the global economy into chaos. Beijing frames its export controls as a matter of national security and resource management, emphasizing the need to protect its strategic interests and ensure that critical resources are not exploited by foreign powers. Chinese officials often highlight the importance of maintaining control over rare earth elements, which are essential for modern technologies ranging from smartphones to advanced military equipment. Yet the timing of these controls is no coincidence. It is a direct response to years of mounting US pressure, including tariffs, technology bans, and efforts to restrict China's access to advanced semiconductors and other key technologies. The ongoing trade tensions have pushed Beijing to seek new ways to assert its influence. By targeting rare earths, China is signaling to Washington and the world that it holds significant leverage in areas where the US and its allies are most vulnerable. Rare earths are indispensable for everything from electric vehicles to renewable energy, making them a powerful tool in geopolitical negotiations. This move also serves a dual purpose. It encourages foreign companies to relocate advanced manufacturing operations to China, further deepening the country's technological base and making it even more central to global supply chains. By tightening its grip on these resources, China hopes to attract more investment and expertise. However, Beijing is fully aware that such actions could accelerate Western efforts to diversify supply chains and reduce dependence on Chinese exports. The US and Europe have already begun investing in alternative sources and new technologies, which could eventually undermine China's long-term dominance in this sector. For now, though, the immediate leverage that comes from controlling rare earth exports outweighs these future risks. The ability to disrupt global markets gives China a potent bargaining chip in ongoing trade negotiations. Rare earths have become a symbol of China's economic power, and their strategic use demonstrates Beijing's willingness to play hardball on the world stage. Beijing's gambit is a bold assertion of power, sending a clear message to both domestic and international audiences that China will defend its interests with confidence and resolve. This move reminds Washington that the trade war is a two-way street, and that actions taken against China will not go unanswered. As the world watches closely, the question remains: will China's strategy pay off by forcing concessions, or will it backfire by accelerating efforts to bypass its dominance? The outcome could reshape the global economic landscape for years to come. News of renewed US-China hostilities sent global markets into a tailspin, with tech stocks plunging and billions wiped from valuations. A 100% tariff would devastate companies reliant on Chinese manufacturing, forcing them to absorb costs or pass them to consumers. The uncertainty is paralyzing, freezing investments and disrupting supply chains worldwide. Businesses are scrambling to find alternatives in countries like Vietnam and Mexico, but no single nation can replace China's scale overnight. The volatility highlights just how interconnected and fragile the global economy has become. For many companies, the prospect of reconfiguring supply chains is daunting and expensive. The pain and uncertainty are likely to linger regardless of how the trade war unfolds. Beyond headlines and markets, ordinary people will feel the brunt of this conflict. A 100% tariff on Chinese goods would sharply raise prices on everyday items, squeezing American families and dampening consumer spending. US farmers and manufacturers face lost markets and higher costs, threatening jobs and entire industries. In China, factory workers risk mass layoffs as US orders evaporate, fueling social instability. The rare earth squeeze also threatens jobs in high-tech and green energy sectors worldwide, stalling innovation and climate progress. The fallout is global decisions made in Washington and Beijing ripple through households and workplaces everywhere. This isn't just about trade, it's about the future of jobs, technology, and economic security. The upcoming APEC summit in South Korea is now a high-stakes diplomatic flashpoint, drawing the attention of governments, analysts, and citizens worldwide. As leaders from across the Asia-Pacific region gather, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and uncertainty. Security is tighter than ever, and every arrival is scrutinized for signs of shifting alliances or hidden agendas. Trump's threat to cancel talks with Xi Jinping has turned the summit into a test of political will, with both sides under intense pressure. The stakes are enormous, not just for the US and China, but for the entire global community. Behind closed doors, negotiators scramble to find common ground, while the world's media speculates on every move and gesture. The message to Beijing is clear: reverse rare earth controls or lose the main channel for negotiation. Rare earth minerals are critical to modern technology, and China's export restrictions have sent shockwaves through international markets. The US sees this as economic coercion, while China insists it's a matter of national interest. If the summit collapses, it could trigger a catastrophic breakdown in communication, escalating the conflict unchecked. The risk of miscalculation grows, and the possibility of a prolonged trade war looms large, threatening global stability. A successful meeting could pause the tariff threat and restart broader talks. But failure would lock both nations into a destructive standoff. The world's two largest economies have the power to either ease tensions or deepen divisions, and every word exchanged at the summit carries immense weight. The world is watching. Every development is dissected in real time, and the outcome could shape the global order for years to come. Investors, businesses, and ordinary people alike are bracing for the impact, knowing that decisions made here will ripple across continents. The fate of diplomacy and the global economy hangs in the balance. As the summit unfolds, the hopes and fears of millions rest on whether dialogue can prevail over discord and whether compromise can triumph over confrontation. This rare Earth standoff is accelerating a fundamental shift in the global economy. Nations are prioritizing resilience over efficiency, moving to onshore or friendshore critical industries, and reduce dependence on rivals. The US, Europe, and Japan are racing to develop their own rare Earth supply chains, even at great cost. The world could split into rival tech blocks, with parallel supply chains and less cooperation. National security now trumps economic logic, making the global landscape more fragmented and unpredictable. The choices made in the coming months, at the APEC summit and beyond, will set the course for decades. The world that emerges will be more divided, more competitive, and profoundly changed,